We've been all over the world for different card shows. Some in the middle of nowhere, some in the biggest cities in the world. But today, I'm going to tell you about my top 10 favorite card shows I've ever been to.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.
That's not something you see every day, but only at trade night. Mr. Trevor Lawrence.
What are we doing?
This is out of this world. Today is definitely the craziest day ever at a card show. A lot of time ahead and a lot of opportunity to make this place special every day. So, all right, what's going on, YouTube? Card Collector 2 coming at you here with a brand new video. Today we're back with a different video, something we've never done before, but one of the questions we get asked a lot is, hey, which card shows are worth going to? Hey, I'm thinking about traveling to shows. Where should I go? Hey, are there any shows in my state? So we thought this would be a fun video to tell you guys about my top 10 favorite card shows. Now, I've got to have a disclaimer here that these are the top 10 card shows, my favorite 10 that I've ever been to. I'm sure there are plenty of really cool card shows out there we've never been to, and hopefully we are fortunate enough one day to be able to go to and experience. We get comments all the time on videos that say, hey, come to this show, come to this show, come to this show. So plenty we have not been to. We've been all over the country and shows outside of the country as well, really all over the world. We've been to London, we've been to Canada. Feels like a million different cities in the US. So we've had plenty of experience over the years going to different card shows. So we're going to talk about 10 of our favorites, and we've got a list right here to do so. Now, one of the things you'll notice is some of these are going to have very similar themes to them. So we're going to talk about what we like about each show, kind of give some, hey, this is, if we got to nitpick and say we don't like this, some of them will have some of those. And, this is not a paid video. None of the card shows on this list have any idea we are doing this. We did not ask any of them if they would like to be featured. We did not ask for any monetary gain or any repost or anything like that to be featured in here. This is just, these are the 10 favorite card shows I've ever been to, and I want to tell you about them and why I like them, and hopefully it helps. At the end, we'll talk about where you can find card shows as well. I know people always ask, how do I find card shows? So we'll hope to give that value as well in this video, but this is meant to provide value and give some insight to some of the best card shows in the country, ones that I personally enjoy going to. That's what this video is going to start with. Now, we've got to start with the idea that this does not include the National. The National is unlike anything else in the card space. It does not compare to any card show in the country at the moment. The National is on a different level, so the National would definitely be number one on any list for me around card shows. It is the biggest in size, in dealers, in activities, in a lot of things. So it is hard to put any list together that doesn't include the National, but for the sake of this, it doesn't make sense to put the National on there. It is a given that it is the best card show in the country at the moment. And we'll see what Fanatics Fest does here in the middle of August. I would expect that to be unlike anything we've been to. So I don't have those two shows on here at the moment. I think eventually Fanatics Fest will be up there with the National. At the moment, the National is the National. It is the premier card show for sports cards, for trading cards. So, and these are not in any particular order. I don't want to rank these 1 through 10. I just wanted to put 10 of them on here and talk about them. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Drop a comment down below, though, in the video or in the comments below. Let us know. There's 10 on here. Which card show do you think we should go to next? Always looking for different ideas. We know we hear about them all the time, so would love to get an idea from you guys on where the next best card show to go is that we could hopefully put on this list one day. If you watch the channel, there's no surprise the first show I'm going to mention is the Dallas Card Show. It is, in my opinion, the closest thing to the National. It is the biggest card show. It's been going on for a long time. I went to the first Dallas show, was in November of 2019. We've gone to a lot of them since. We've missed a few here and there, but it is a great show. One of the biggest points for Dallas, it is massive. It's the biggest show I've been to outside of the National for number of unique dealers. It's got tons and tons and tons of dealers. So the selection there is, one of the best in the entire space for card shows. So that is obviously a great thing. And then space, right? Number of rooms with vendors. You've got the bigger side room right outside the door, or on the side by the restaurant. You've got some right outside the door. They're continuously expanding. You've got some in the main hallway. You've got graders showing up, like SGC has a spot there. You've got just so many different vendors there. Then there's, again, just so many different spaces where vendors are, and they keep growing that and keep growing that. So multiple rooms, lots of vendors. That's definitely another big thing. One of the best things about the Dallas Card Show is the fact that the venue and the hotel are one. That is very, very nice. As someone who has been all over the country to card shows, I will tell you that having the venue and the space in one location is nice. This is one of the reasons that the National in Chicago is, in my humble opinion, the best venue for the National. You can get to 5 different hotels in Chicago without walking outside. There's a bridge connected, the walkway across the road. You can literally stay in the National, walk up to that bridge, walk to a different hotel. Trade nights are happening in lobbies. That's why I love Chicago for the National. The same thing happens in Dallas, right? If you've been to the Dallas Card Show or you've watched a content creator, the Dallas Card Show at night, like, it comes alive. That hotel lobby has been packed with people looking to wheel and deal post-show. It's jam-packed. And that's what's so cool about Chicago and the National there, is you see a lot of that in hotel lobbies. Dallas has that every time it happens because a lot of people stay at the show or stay at the hotel. You just come downstairs, you've got a trade night in your lobby. You don't have to Uber, you don't have to walk, you don't have to drive, you don't have to do anything. You just come downstairs and it's there. So having everything in one location makes it really nice. Now, on that point, one of the things to keep in mind about the Dallas Card Show, if I could change anything, is the drive. It's 35-ish minutes, give or take. Depending on traffic, it could be more, but it is a distance to the show. I think Ubers typically for us average about $75 to get from the airport to the show. A little bit of money and a little bit of a drive. Again, if you get in at the wrong time, Dallas is big. There can be traffic, a little bit of a way. So obviously the venue, the location, the show experience when you get there is very, very nice. But there is a little bit of a drive from the airport to the show. Another great thing about it is there's a lot of food nearby. If you walk right across the street, there's like an outdoor shopping mall experience, a bunch of restaurants. There's plenty of places to eat, a lot of good selection. There's like dessert, like I know there's like a ice cream or parfait type place out there. That's obviously really nice. Like, there are some shows on here where food is not as plentiful. There's plenty to eat right across the street in Dallas. And then another nice thing that I think a lot of people might overlook at a show is FedEx, like shipping options. If you've watched our vlogs before, we've had to go to FedEx to ship carts full of stuff back, wax, deals. We've done the suitcase option before, but if we need to ship something back overnight, there is a FedEx nearby. It's a little bit of a walking distance, and you've got to walk under a busy bridge, so it's not exactly the optimal location for a FedEx, but for a 10-minute walk to be able to ship something back, it is nice. So having that FedEx nearby has benefited us in the past. Again, I am speaking to personal experience. Some people might not value the FedEx, might disagree with that statement. From our experience, having FedEx within a 10-minute walk is very, very nice. Again, last point on this, or 2 quick points. Variety of vendors. Again, just the variety there. There's Pokemon. There's auction houses. There's, our friends at Zion Case Co. are there. There's SGC. There's Beckett. Multiple grading companies are there. We've seen comic books. We've seen card shops and vendors that travel across the country. There's literally a little bit of everything. So the variety at that show is very nice. And then probably one of the best things about it that I prefer is it is a 4-day show. It's got VIP night or sneak peek or first day, whatever I don't know what it's exactly called, but Thursday night action happens. Thursday is one of our best days. So Thursday night has day. Then it's Friday from noon to 8 or 9. And then you've got all day Saturday, you've got all day Sunday. So it is a 4-day show. So if you wanted to go and make an experience out of it, it is 4 days. The other thing that I don't have on here, but just thought about when thinking of that is, it's also, I think it's bi-monthly at this point, so it happens 6 times a year. That is also nice, is you don't have to wait once a year, twice a year for it to happen. It is pretty consistent. So a lot of good things about Dallas. Next one on the list, one of my personal favorites for sure, something very near and dear to me, would be the Shipshewana Card Show, Shipshewana Card Fest in Shipshewana, Indiana. This is run by B Sports over on Instagram. Brad has been a friend for many, many years. I went to the show long time ago. It was in a different venue, much smaller, less foot traffic. If you've seen our shows, some of our best days at card shows have been in Shipshewana, Indiana. Now, if you have not been, again, one of the disclaimers on this one for sure, it is in the middle of nowhere. It is in the middle of nowhere. It's 25 minutes to food. That is not an ideal thing per se. Brad would tell you that. That's not a surprise. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy going to food, hanging out with some people that we're friends with. It's a fun way to end the trade night. So we enjoy that. Don't really mind the drive. But for some, especially if you fly in, it's not super close to an airport. It's not super close to food. So it's not like an Uber away from the airport. There's horse and buggy everywhere. It's in the middle of nowhere with the Amish. It's definitely an experience to get to. But the amount of foot traffic is great. There's a lot of people that go. I've also said this many of times in every Shipshewana video. It has some of the best dealers in the country, some great people. I've gone to that show as many times as I possibly can. It is full of good people. It's got a lot of variety. Again, there's great value boxes. There's people that sell repacks there. There's great showcases. There's dealers that take grading submissions there. There's just so much to do. And again, good vendors, good variety, great show. Typically, I think it's about 200 to 250 tables. We put on here 200 to 300. I don't know if Brad can get 300 in there. I can confirm that with him, but it's got a good amount of vendors, good amount of variety. Again, if you've seen the vlogs, it's hard to walk in there. There's so many options. It brings a lot of people out. So definitely a good show. Another nice thing that's developed over the years about Shipshewana is you got a trade night the night before a show. So it's not necessarily a 2-day show, but you've got a trade night the night before that goes for a few hours. I think last time it's like 6 to 10, 7 to 10. Nice option to go in there and make deals, and it's pretty busy. It's not like it's not necessarily as busy as some of the show days, but we've made a lot of our deals at the trade nights. The trade nights are really good. I'll be interested to see if this show develops into a 2-day show in the future. I think it's got a lot of legs to do that. We'll see what Brad ultimately decides on that. But this is one of those shows that if it can happen, we always try to be. If we can be there, we certainly try to be there. It's a good show, a lot of variety. You got the trade night the night before, and there's a hotel nearby. There's a lot of hotels nearby. This is not your Ritz-Carlton hotel for any of our bougie card collectors out there. But it's a great location, being right next to the venue, so you don't have to drive 25 minutes to get to a hotel. There's definitely some nearby. Again, food is far away, and it's a little harder to get to, but there's a lot of good things for Shipshewana. So if you can ever make it, if you're ever considering driving to a show, that is definitely one we really enjoy. All right, next up on the list, Chantilly. Another one we frequent quite a bit. Chantilly is cool for a lot of reasons. It's got some great autograph signers. In my opinion, out of all the shows I've been to, it is this show with the best autograph signers. It's up there with the National. We've got to meet a lot of cool people there. Adrian Peterson, Nick Chubb, Terry McLaurin, Max Crosby, Zeke. So many names come to mind. Show gets a lot of big names. Those are big name athletes, and those are just some. Tebow's been there, Bryce Young was there, Tua, Joe Montana. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are not B-list autograph signers. These are top tier, the best of the best autograph signers. So it's cool. It brings some great names there. It's got a good variety. It's not the biggest card show, and it's not the smallest. It is a really solid show for a number of tables. Again, like a lot of the other ones on this list, good variety. Just a ton of different selection, different price points, different offerings. A lot of great offerings. It's hard to complain about if you're looking for something. There's typically a good shot you can find it at Chantilly. It has a lot of good tables, good vendors, stuff like that. A lot of space there as well. It's not jam-packed in the aisles. Due to a lack of space, it has a great venue for it. The venue is really nice. You've got the autograph section away from the show, so you don't typically have lines into the show space, which is really nice. So really like that. And again, there's also memorabilia there because you have so many autograph signers. So the nice thing is, if we don't prefer to go to shows with just autograph signers, obviously we're into the cards, but it's been fun because we've bought memorabilia and stuff there before because so many signers do go. It's also walking distance to food. There's a Chick-fil-A that's 5-6 minutes away, on top of plenty of other food. So when you have a walking distance, 10 minutes or less to food, that is really nice. There's also a cafe or like a quick service in there where you can grab snacks, drinks, things like that. So that's been nice. Red Bull a few times when necessary. A lot of foot traffic. Again, this is 15 minutes from the DC airport. It's super close. So there's a lot of foot traffic in the area. Again, great selling show as a vendor. While we've never set up there, some of the people we're closest with in the hobby have said these are some of their best shows as a vendor that they've ever been to. So obviously, when you can say that, typically means that you've got a good steady flow of foot traffic, customer base. You obviously love to see that. I believe I got to double check on this, but I'm 99% positive this is a 3-day show. I will say it is a 3-day show. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's nice. Again, I think the 3-day thing is the perfect element for it. Be curious on your guys' opinion. Do you prefer 2-day, 3-day, 4-day? Like, what do you look for in a show? But again, multiple days to accomplish things. Autograph signers over multiple days. So a lot of stuff there. Don't really have a lot to say about like the disadvantages of it. It's got a good space. It's got autograph signers. I know some people aren't necessarily pro autograph signer because it doesn't necessarily translate to card sales, but I think the names they brings real audience in. So I don't think it hurts per se. I think it actually adds value to the show. It's got a good variety. It's 15 minutes from an airport. You can walk to food. There's a bunch of hotels nearby. Not really a lot to say about bad. It's a great card show. And that would lead me into the next one, which is Philly. Philadelphia card show. Again, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to put like screenshots up here of like the pages on like Instagram or websites or things like that, because some of these are going to be called different names. Like the Chantilly one is like the CSA show. So I'm not necessarily calling them by their confirmed names. A lot of them are just the cities we travel to, but that's what we know them as. So I'll try to put like the pages on Instagram so you can follow them, you can check them out, and you guys can learn more. That's obviously the goal of this, is to grow these shows and to inform people about some of the better card shows we've been to. But the Philadelphia show is run by the same people that run the Chantilly show, so a lot of the same experience is there. The Philly show typically has more local signers, at least in the past, that's what we've seen. Iverson's been there, Dr. J's been there, you've had some Phillies, so it's a lot of like local ones, but Iverson and Dr. J are big names. Even if they're Philadelphia names, those are big names. So to get big names like that at a show, again, is a plus. Has a lot of the similarities to the Chantilly show. It's in a good location. It's not super far from the airport. It's got a good amount of tables, a lot of variety, a lot of vendors. Hotels, again, are relatively close. Again, one thing we put on here, our notes, it literally says, I wasn't sure what to put for this show. Again, a lot of the Chantilly and the Philadelphia show, they know how to run a good show. There's not really a lot to complain about. Like, again, if you don't like the autograph signers, that might be a complaint. It has Pokemon, it has vintage, it has, I know Golden has space there, so it has auction houses. I don't know if it has grading companies. I don't know. I don't remember that from my time there in the past. It could have them. I just don't remember for sure, and I don't want to speak incorrectly. But it's got everything you could need. It's got food in there. There's like, again, a little place to grab a quick bite or a drink. It's got vendors. It's got foot traffic. It's got everything you could possibly need. So not really a lot to say about the Chantilly and the Philadelphia show. I don't have anything that stands out as like, this is something I wish I would change. Next one on here, Boston. This was fun. Shout out to our guys over at Card Vault, Chris and his team. It's got to be on there. It's the Card Vault show at Fenway was unlike anything we've ever been to. To have a card show at one of the most historic sports venues in the country is pretty cool. It was crazy. I mean, the views that we got to tour. that's not an experience you can get at a event hall or a hotel. It's different. So that was really, really cool. Definitely like that. Had a lot of variety. Again, we talk about it in a lot of the videos, but I love going to Boston. The vendors there are really, really nice. There's a lot of selection. It's definitely not the biggest show compared to like a Dallas. Like the amount of vendors is not there, but there's hundreds, right? So that it's not 20, it's not 30, it's 100. So when you can get that kind of variety at a show, like that's a lot of people to choose from. You can go and make deals with a lot of people when you have hundreds of dealers set up. So obviously that's great. It's in downtown Boston. It's close to food. It's close to plenty of things to do. It's a great city. We love going to Boston. You walk outside Fenway and there's, it's a town built around a baseball stadium. So there's plenty of places to eat, plenty of things to do, plenty of nightlife. It is great. It is hard to complain about that show. We love going to Boston. So when you can put an awesome card show and an experience inside of a stadium, it's hard to complain about that. Plenty of activities to do for kids throughout the show as well. There was like hey, check your speed, some like VR stuff. There's a lot of other things for kids to do there. So made it a family-friendly type thing. I think that is one thing that's really cool, and I'm expecting shows in the future to be able to develop that. Is when you go to a show, is what is there for kids to do, right? Like think about that. When you go to a card show now, is there a kid station? That's one thing that we give a lot of credit to the Shipshewana card show for, is they've got that, a lot of the dealers work together and they've got like a kid scavenger hunt. We go to this table and check this off and this table and check this off, and you can win Zion cases and grading credit and all sorts of different things. Like that's really cool, and I think that is a future of good card shows, is how can we get kids involved? Because kids are the future. And I think that's one thing Boston and Shipshewana do really, really well, is they have things designated for kids. Boston, obviously, you have hotels nearby. You're in Boston. There's plenty of hotels. Some things to keep in mind. It's a Saturday, Sunday show instead of Friday, Saturday. We get varying preferences on this when we ask people, hey, do you prefer Friday, Saturday, or do you prefer Saturday, Sunday? Some people are like, hey, I got to work Friday. I want it to be Saturday, Sunday. For us, I want to be home on Sunday, so I prefer earlier. I would rather have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a Friday, Saturday, a Friday trade night, Saturday show. I would always favor that, to be home on Sunday. But this is a Saturday, Sunday show. So some people like that, some people don't. Again, my preference would always be Friday, Saturday, but this one is Saturday, Sunday. So 2 weekend days. Again, a lot of opportunity to go with the family, but one thing to keep in mind. And then the other thing, this will come up on a few shows. Some people prefer it, some people don't, is music at the show. The only reason I ever bring this up is because when we record audio for content, you can't have music playing in the background because YouTube will flag it as a copyright thing. Not a big deal to 99% of people. Not a big deal with us. We can typically clip it up. It has to be 15 seconds in a row. Again, this is more of a technical thing with YouTube and how that works. So it's easy to get around, but if you're ever trying to, sometimes if you're in certain spots there, you can be talking to a vendor and it can be a little bit loud. So sometimes a little harder to hear, and it's playing in the background of deals. So it makes the audio a little bit of a challenge. Again, some people like it, and some card shows are trying to create an experience that involves that. Again, this is me, in my opinion, not necessarily something that the general audience, the general public will agree with. I'm just sharing the feedback that we have had. Our first international show, the London Card Show. I would imagine, I would have to check on this. I would imagine it's one of, if not the biggest card show outside of the U.S. It was amazing. We went there, and it was probably one of the coolest card shows I've ever been to. I love the city of London. I've been a few times with my family now. Anytime I can go back to the London Card Show, I will go back. It is a fantastic show. It's amazing. It's multiple days. It has 200 plus tables. It's a different experience. It is not like going to the Dallas Card Show. It is not like going to Shipshewana or Boston or Philly. It is different for sure. There's a lot of soccer, F1, and Pokemon. I love F1. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to buy that stuff. But it's different. That's not everybody's cup of tea. There's not as much, football, American football is not the main sport over there. It is not mostly baseball. It is not mostly basketball. So those sports are in the minority over in London. It makes for a different experience, and I think that's what makes it fun. It's definitely unique. again, it's a different culture. It is not the same as a US-based show. There's definitely differences in culture over there, and I think that's what's fun. Again, it's what makes that show unique. Again, like a lot of the shows in the US have a lot of the similarities. You'll see a lot of those things on these lists, but that's one thing we really liked. Some things to keep in mind about this show, though, for sure, is you got to cross the border with cards. Either if you go there to buy, you go there to sell, whatever it is, dealing with customs, dealing with traveling with inventory, it definitely creates some kind of complexity. There's no doubt about it. Anytime you travel to any show outside of the US, those complexities come into place. Buying, currency, so many different things there. Another thing is the time difference. This is one thing we did not know going in. Not that it was bad, just again, adds a different element. London is I want to confirm this, but I'm 99% positive it's 5 hours ahead. 5 hours. So when a show starts in London at 5 a.m., that's 4 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio, where we are. That's a big difference. Going to a card show, filming, buying in a different currency with an exchange rate at 4 a.m. our time is unlike anything we've ever done. Now, it made it fun. It made the experience very different, and I can't wait to go back. But again, these are things to keep in mind if you ever consider going to the London Card Show, that there is a time difference, there is a currency difference, and you've got to take money or cards across the border. So again, something to keep in mind. But if you ever get the chance to go, it is definitely one I would certainly recommend. It's one of the most unique, if not the most unique experience I've ever had at a card show, and I look forward to going back. So London would definitely be on the list. All right, next up would be Atlanta. This would be Culture Collision down in Atlanta. We went to the very first one there, and then we went to the most recent one. A lot of good things about the Atlanta Card Show, about Culture Collision. It's a massive venue. They've done a great job at that show, upgrading each time. It's gone into different spaces, and the space it's in now is humongous. It's so big, they literally have a basketball court where they play games inside the actual arena. That's pretty crazy. That's how you know it's got a ton of space there. Like a lot of these shows, the vendor selection, vendor quantity, those are things that really stand out about shows like these. You're not going and just dealing with 15, 20 different people. There's hundreds. The selection, the variety, there's just a lot to be offered at a show like this. The venue is so big, you can find something you're looking for in a space like that. And that's so key on some of these big shows is if you're going to travel, if you're going to spend the time away, you want to make sure you've got the ability to buy something, and Atlanta definitely has that. Again, the basketball court thing is cool. It's an experience inside an experience. This is not something you see at a lot of card shows. They've had basketball tournaments with prizes and different stuff, and it adds a different element. It gets a good amount of people watching it. It's fun. It's a unique experience you don't see elsewhere, and I think that's going to be one of those things that sets card shows apart from each other in the future is what do you do that no other card show in the country does? That will matter in the long run, as there's so many card shows now. I think a lot of you guys would agree that it's not like there's one card show a weekend. There's multiple card shows on a weekend, right? And big card shows happening at the same time on the same weekend, and people will have to pick which card show do you go to. Some will be a location thing, some will be a timing thing, and some will just be, hey, this is a better card show that's going to happen. The market will ultimately decide. But I think experiences like that will matter to people. Some people will say, I don't want to go, it's not my cup of tea. But I think a lot of people will be like, that's a cool thing. That's a unique thing that I don't get at any other card show. And I think stuff like that matters. So I like it. I think it's a unique thing, something we put on here for a plus. Another thing, like a lot of these, multiple days, right? It's not just a one-day card show. It is an event. There's lots of days, lots of stuff happening, a lot of things to look forward to. And the other thing is the hotel is connected. This is a big deal. I will tell you this, going to so many card shows, that being able to walk out of your hotel door, walk downstairs, and trade after hours. That is a big thing. The trade nights are a big part of the card show space, right? We've got trade nights coming up at the National we're going to be involved in. Those are a big deal. If you've seen our videos in the past, Michael Rubin came to Trade Night at the National last year. Trade nights are a big deal at card shows. And when you don't have to leave and you don't have to get in the car and you can walk up and down stairs or take an elevator to get to a trade night, that matters for the people attending the show. And I think that's a big, big plus about this show is it's got it there. There's also FedEx shipping inside the venue. You literally, if you walk from your hotel room to the venue, the walk we took, you literally pass a FedEx shipping station. It says FedEx on here. I actually thought it was UPS. Regardless, one of the two biggest shippers is in the actual venue, and you pass it on the way to the show. That is nice. Being able to walk out of the show, and before you get to your hotel room, you can literally ship something. That's a humongous plus, and definitely something we value. Just so many shows going and buying quantity, buying in bulk, to not have to create an extra luggage or travel to get that, just be able to ship it right there. That is a plus. A lot of variety in this one as well. Again, modern, vintage, we saw it all there. There was definitely Pokemon. So a lot of things to look forward to there. One thing to keep in mind, again, this is another one of those shows where we've it's got music. Again, this is a combination of culture. So you're gonna have sneakers, other type, there's been all sorts of different vendors here at this one, and that's another point on this is it's like the autograph thing. That's one of those touchy subjects for card dealers is, do you like that variety or do you prefer it to only be autographs? I don't mind it. Some people might say, hey, I only want it to be trading cards, no autograph signers, no sneakers. And that's going to be some of the feedback that you'll get from some. Some people like it, some people don't. All personal preference. But the music thing, again, that's a hard part from like a content perspective. But when you're trying to create an event at a card show, that is a big part of it. So again, not everybody feels the same way. Some people like it. Some people don't prefer it. If you asked us, obviously we don't prefer it, just from the simple fact of we want to film. I know I'm in the minority. I'm not oblivious to that. Not everybody. Most people are not filming content at card shows. So I know that we're going to be in the minority. Some people are like, hey, turn on the good music. So it would never be something, none of these things about keep in mind are ever meant to be we would never go to a card show because of this. These are just things that we have looked out for over the years that, hey, we've got to adjust how we do business because of this, right? Because of music. We've got to be able to clip less than 15 seconds. We can't have one clip that's 16 seconds because it's got music. So just some adjustments we've had to make that we're just trying to share. Not a bad thing, but something that we've had to adjust for that we want to share. Again, this is not meant to just be, hey, these are the best 15 things about this card show. A lot of these things are going to be the same. So it's talking about our experience, talking about what makes them different. That's one of the things we wanted to include. So again, little recap so far. We've got through a bunch of them. We've got Dallas, we've got Shipshewana, Chantilly, Philly, and Boston. Then we got London and Atlanta. So we've got a few left here. Toronto. The Sports Card Expo in Toronto, Canada was awesome. Definitely, again, that's one thing I would say about a lot of the international shows is the experience is different. It's not like the U.S. shows. It's a massive card show. That's one thing I was thinking about London. I was like, I wonder if London is bigger than the Expo. It feels like Expo's really big. I also know there's one in somewhere in like, is it China or Japan? I know there's a really big show out in one of those two countries. So I'm not sure. I felt like London was one of them, but I would actually have to check that because Toronto was massive. To me, now that I think about that, I'm like, I think Toronto had more vendors than London did when I was there. Again, minor details in the grand scheme of things. Either way, these are massive card shows outside of the U.S. and great for the expansion of the hobby. Big sponsorship and corporate area. That was another big thing about this show. Probably definitely the closest thing to the national from a corporate sponsorship perspective. You had big time presence there from big companies. Upper Deck had a massive display there. It was really cool. But that's something we don't really see at a lot of shows outside of the national. You definitely got it in Canada at the Expo in Toronto. So that was really cool. Tons of vendors, tons. I mean, one of the biggest card shows we've ever been to in terms of vendor selection. There's hallways and side rooms in a massive space. So it's got plenty of tables. It's also not far from the airport. We didn't fly, we drove. But you literally, from the hotel we stayed at, it was a 10-minute drive, if that, and you pass the airport on the way to the show. It's literally right there. So 10 minutes might be far. I don't know if it's actually 10 minutes. It's actually that close to the airport. So that is really nice. Another thing, again, like a lot of these shows, multiple days. These are multiple days, a lot of happening. There's sneak peek nights, like it was like VIP night, I think is what they called it. So obviously that is super great. Things to keep in mind, again, a lot of the things we talked about earlier with CAD. So they've got different currency up there. You're crossing the border with cards. Again, just those things create complexities. It's not just go to your local card show, buy a card for $20 and move on. You've got to cross the border with it. You've got to have cash to do that, or their currency. It just creates, again, complexity. It's not a bad thing, but something to keep in mind when dealing with international card shows. And the other thing, if you don't know hockey, this show is definitely hockey. From my understanding and everything we've been told about the show, is it's gotten better each time with more and more offerings elsewhere. Just football, basketball, baseball. If you watch the vlogs, we had no trouble buying, none at all, which was great. But it definitely favors hockey. There's no doubt about it. It is at the moment 50% or more is hockey. It was cool for us. We got to buy some stuff we don't get to see every day. We don't go to shows with much hockey. So to see that there was cool. Again, different experience. So it was a lot of fun. But a couple things to keep in mind and stuff you would probably expect with dealing with international card shows. Burbank Card Show. This is one of the biggest card shows in the entire country. It is ginormous. We were fortunate enough to go to the first one. Massive show there. It's only gotten bigger. We unfortunately couldn't make the last one, but the venue was 2 stories. There was an upstairs and downstairs. Absolutely massive card show. So humongous space, humongous. I mean, everybody we know last time went to the show, so it had a ton of people. Again, a lot of the similarities here at this point with massive number of vendors, tables, space, lot of good things about this. And I believe, would love to talk to Rob and the team out there at Burbank, but with the venue, it seems like there's plenty of space to continue to grow it and make it big. This is no doubt about it. This is the biggest card show on the West Coast. And that's the thing about a lot of these card shows is we go to a lot of card shows on the East Coast, right? Dallas is really as far west as we've gone. Like, we've been to Burbank, we've been out there for shows, but mostly Dallas is as far west as we go. It's Boston, it's Philly, it's Chantilly, it's Atlanta. Those are East Coast shows. This is the mecca for sports cards on the West Coast. It is massive and has room to grow, and I think it will just continue to be a big part of the hobby in the future. It's massive. It's so big. And again, you see different type of vendors compared to the East Coast. A lot of people that are out west don't travel east, just like we don't go out to Burbank every time. That's one thing we put on here is it's a lot of travel from the East Coast. There's no doubt about it. There's no direct flights from Columbus to Burbank or to LAX at the moment. So you've got to take in direct. So that requires potential delays, travel. It's a long time to travel, and it's a 3-hour time difference. Not a bad thing. It just, again, like going outside of the country, this is different time zone. It requires a lot of travel. Those are things that come into this when considering which card shows you want to go to. But there's no doubt about it. If you get there, this is a premier card show. It is massive, humongous presence from some big names. PSA is set up there. It's got, again, the best dealers in the country, space to grow. We put on here sunny and 75 degrees. Like, it's California weather. You get to go to a show and it's nice every day. I mean, that's not always the case. We've gone to a show in rain and blizzards in Shipshewana. Like, those things don't happen in Burbank, California. You don't go to card shows in blizzards and pass horse and buggy. It's a little bit of a different scene. So hard to complain about that. Again, the only thing to keep in mind on this was far travel and kind of expensive to travel from the East Coast just because of the distance. That's the only thing to keep in mind on this is the distance and the travel time. Other than that, premier card show, and I expect will be a big part of the card show scene in the future. All right, last up on the list, Nashville. I believe it's also called like the National, Nash, like national, not the National. So kind of a play on words there for them, but good show. Really fun one to go to. One of those ones, like a lot of these, like it's just a fun time to go, especially with people that you like. There's so many good things to eat. Nashville barbecue is amazing. It's some of the best in the country. So it's a lot of fun there. So it's a really good weekend or a couple days away for us. We really like going to it. It's also got multiple rooms. So you've got a massive, big space right when you come in, massive venue. And then there's a little room off to the side, past a little food truck, where there's even more space, and they've continued to grow it there. So that's obviously fun. Again, hundreds of dealers. I don't know the exact table count, but we'll try to have some of that information up when we post about them. But massive space, multiple rooms inside there. Really good mix at this one. There's definitely vintage at this show. We've seen some really cool stuff over there over the years. It's not, I wouldn't say it's vintage heavy, but it's definitely not just a only modern show. There's definitely a good bit of vintage. There's also some wax. We've been able to purchase some of that in the past. There is a food, there's a few, I think there's one or two food truck. There's one food truck for sure, and then there's like a little like cafe area in the second room where you can, again, grab something quick to eat. That's nice. Having food and drink options in a show is a fun. It's a nice perk to have about a card show. Not having to leave to get a bottle of water, not having to leave to eat a hot dog or a piece of pizza is nice. So having that inside there is helpful. Multiple days, right? It's not a one-day show. It's multiple days. I'll confirm the dates for sure, but I think it's normally like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. But would have to confirm. I'm sure the flyer we'll post up. We'll have that. And then again, plenty to do. I think the two venues we enjoy the most for like things to do outside of the card show are Boston and Nashville. They just have the most personal experience. We've had the most fun after the show in those two cities. Again, a lot of the cities do, but those two have been great. So a little bit of a drive to the hotel in other places from the venue. Like had to drive, I think our hotel was 20 minutes. Now there's hotels closer, but it was a little bit of a drive to get to those. So not bad, not a deal breaker. Definitely something we would enjoy going to. It's a lot of fun. And that is the 10 favorite card shows I have ever been to. Again, look, there's plenty of card shows in the country that are upcoming, that have been around for decades, that are not on this list that I'm sure are amazing. This is not meant to do any harm, put any shows against each other. This is just meant to give some insight into the top favorite 10 card shows I've ever been to. So that is what this is meant to do. So we'll see in the future. I'm excited to be able to get out there and go to more shows. We've been doing this for a while now, and we've seen a lot of cool things and some not so cool things. But as shows continue to play a big part in this hobby, and I think will only play a bigger part in the future, it's going to be interesting to see what shows do to grow and stay relevant and continue to ultimately push the hobby forward, because that's ultimately what these shows are trying to do. So again, comment down below, let us know some upcoming shows, some of the better shows you've been to, what those look like. We're always looking for new ones to be able to go to. Sometimes it's just a scheduling thing. Sometimes we're busy and have a prior conflict. Sometimes there's personal things like personal things that come up that someone's busy or we can't travel to. So it's not always like hey, we don't want to go to the show. Sometimes it's things like that have prevented us from experiencing some of the other better card shows in the country. But for now, we think this is a fun one. Now, one of the questions we get asked a lot is, hey, where do I find card shows in my area? So there's a couple different ways to do this. The easiest one for us over the years, something I have used the longest, is the Beckett. I'm going to pull it up. It's Beckett Venue Manager online. So what I do is I've gone to Google in the past and I search Beckett Show Calendar. One of the top ones is Search Venue. So when this pulls up, it's going to tell you about some of the shows that are upcoming just in chronological order. And then if you scroll down, there's a lot of different filters. So you can search by venue, you can search by city, you can search by state, you can search by start date. So there's two ways that we've done this in the past. One is if we're going to be in a particular state for something else, like let's say we're traveling to 5 states in 5 days. We did that video series in the past, and we're going to be in Florida. Okay, are there any card shows in Florida after this where, hey, we can visit a card show in this weekend? So then what we'll do is we'll just change the state to a particular state. We'll filter that out to the one we want, and then we'll typically do a start date. Hey, we're going to be here on this date, so we only do a start date. So like, okay, let's check Ohio on June 29th. That is Saturday, June 29th. All right. Did I have that right? Yep. Saturday, Ohio. Right. You filter that out and you get 3 different ones that pop up. One in Broadview Heights, one in Cincinnati, and one in Hilliard. It tells you the number of tables, the date, the time, who to contact. So it gives a lot of helpful information. So if you want to do that, that's a particular place, particular date, particular time. The other thing we can do is we'll just get rid of the date completely, and then we'll just say Ohio, New York, West Virginia, Florida. Pick any random state. Okay, what card shows are going on there in that state? So it'll tell you all the upcoming shows in your state. That is helpful for people that don't want to travel as far. And then for us, we're like, hey, we have this weekend free, right? This Friday, we're going to be free. This is not actual. This is just Friday's Kids Trade Night. This is, okay, hey, what card shows are anywhere across the country on this Friday? You can search, and it'll tell you any card show on that particular date. Now, I don't know if I'm assuming not every single card show uses this. I have used it in the past, and it has allowed us to find a lot of good ones. I'm sure there are other ways to do it. This is one we've used in the past. I know other people have used like Facebook. They've gone to Facebook and searched on Facebook for like card shows near me. I know there's like different groups for like Florida card shows or California card shows. There's typically groups like that exist. I'm not members of those, but I know that other people have had success using those. And a lot of it's on Instagram. Like, we've posted a lot of the different pages and websites for a lot of those, but like a lot of, that's a lot of good information to find out when some of those ones are happening. But on a more specific, state, date, time, place, those kind of things, that's where we use the Beckett venue manager, Beckett show calendar, whatever we want to call it. This has been the best tool for us. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully this video was helpful. Again, something a little different. Hopefully you guys found value in this. Would love some feedback on this. Again, I don't take this as, all the truth that these are the best card shows. This is the greatest. This is that. This is just an experience, what I have enjoyed, my 10 favorite over the years. Maybe the list will change in the future. But right now, these are the 10 favorite card shows I have been to. What are yours? Drop those comments down below. But for now, guys, that is all I got. Peace, guys.